Looking for a home that keeps you connected to Silicon Valley without the usual barriers to entry? The Gates in Morgan Hill by City Ventures is a walkable neighborhood near downtown restaurants, outdoor trails, and an easy commute to the Bay Area. It's a small town setting with access to major career hubs. Every home is all electric with buyer-owned solar included. With limited availability, now's the time to take a closer look. Discover your new home at cityventures.com. That's cityventures.com.
Welcome, food fans, picky eaters, the flavor curious, and everyone in between. Nothing makes good food better than good conversation. And your table is ready. Come right this way to the Food for Thoughtcast with your host, Melissa Reagan. But you can call her Chef. All right, let's get this episode started.
Hey there, food fans. Welcome back to the Food for Thoughtcast with me, your host, Melissa Reagan. I hope you're having an amazing week so far. My guest tonight is Emmanuel LaRoche, author and podcast host. How are you, Emmanuel?
I am very good, Melissa. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Yes, I'm so honored to have you with me this evening. Where are you joining us from?
I am based in New Jersey, not too far from Manhattan.
Okay, perfect.
But you can tell the accent is not from there.
Wait,
so I always say a joke, I
wasn't going to, by way of where was going to be my next question.
So I was born in France. I grew up in France, and I moved 24 years ago to the US. So now I'm French and American as well.
I love it. Magnifique, as they would say. My French is about un petit peu. I think I took 4 years in high school. I really thought that I would need French to be a chef. You do not, unless you are chefing in France. So,
correct. Absolutely, you're correct.
Not in Texas and not in North Carolina. I've never used a word unless I was asking somebody for a sautoir or telling them that I wanted them to work the garde manger station. Exactly, otherwise, it's a lot of Spanish. So,
true. True. On the day-to-day, yes, it would be much more Spanish, but there's still some culinary expression connected to France.
Absolutely. But mise en place gets used every day. So here we are. It's the lasting legacy, as it were, in the culinary world. Well, Emmanuel, I hope you're having an amazing week so far. Every episode, I always ask our guest what was the most amazing thing you ate this week. And unless you have one loaded up, I can go first.
One thing that I always mention, in my podcast as well, is the fact that, and in the first book that I wrote called Conversations Behind the Kitchen Door, I have the chance to do a lot of tasting because of my day job, I want to say, and so I do about 60-70 tasting a year. And I just came back from Canada, from Toronto, which is a fantastic, city with a lot of diversity. And I had the chance to go to Laotian like restaurants, and there was like really, amazing dishes, there. And I had like a dish with, in fact, some. I believe it was, because now I have to remember the ingredients, but I think it was like a mango, kind of a green mango salad. So it really interesting because it was close to some of the influences from Thai food, but it was like with different type of chili in there, and that was amazing. But the entire menu was really great. So Laotian food. I don't have that every day, obviously, but that was a great experience.
It sounds incredible. I love that kind of that sour like papaya salad, the dried shrimp. It's so good. The acid, the acid and the kind of like
And now you're talking about the dry shrimp. There was another thing that was a seasonal dish that was a watermelon salad that had a dry smoked shrimp, in together with the watermelon, and that's what amazing.
That sounds insane. I think it's probably 3 times this month that a watermelon salad has been mentioned on just this podcast, and I think it really has to do with the season. But it's so versatile.
Sure.
You
And
know,
the heat as well, because it's full of water, so
it's so
it's easy to consume. Like
it's
water.
so. Is it hot there too? Does it get hot
It's
in New
better
Jersey?
now. I mean, it's better now, but we had like a heat wave. I think it's like around the planet, because I talked to my brother from France. He's in Provence, and I think they were like 110. And he said to me, it's been 3 months that they are like, with that, like really high weather.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so I think this is like a little bit of like the heat wave around the planet at the moment.
Yeah, it's like living in an oven.
It's
been
Toronto
really
was hot as well. Yeah.
That's wild. Something in my tiny little American brain just automatically thinks Canada has snow all the time. I might not get out enough, but like
wrong month in the calendar.
It's just wrong. Yeah. It's been really hot here, but we had a freak thunderstorm just in the middle of the day. So it brought the temperature down from 95 to 87.
Okay.
I don't think I've eaten hot food in probably 3.5 weeks. I'm no kidding. Like, I just have not wanted to eat hot food. It's too hot outside. So I've been doing a lot of chia seed puddings, yogurt, fruit bowls, acai, chicken salad, tuna salad, but I'm getting worn out. So the temperature dropped and there's a nice breeze outside. I haven't eaten it yet, but when we finish recording, I'm going to make a warm soba noodle salad.
Oh, that's great.
Have some like miso. I've got some roasted corn. I'm going to caramelize an onion. I think I'm going to grate a cucumber on it, kind of like a little dan influence at the end. I've got some sesame seeds. I'm kind of on a quest to clean out my fridge right now. So I thought, I wonder if hemp hearts would provide me a little bit more nutrition, but like the same, crunch as the sesame seeds. So it's definitely going to be interesting, but it's probably going to be the first warm thing I've eaten all week. So.
That's great. In fact, that's funny because I'm leaving for Nashville tomorrow. So I have as well kind of like, I'm going to put whatever is together, like left on my fridge as well, for light dinner tonight. So
yeah, it's been a big focus this year, just for me personally, is like, if you buy something and you decide you didn't want it, you're throwing your money in the trash. So you really have to you've got to get creative. And I come home from work all the time and the last thing I want to do is cook. And I'm like, well, now you really have to like be a good money manager in your own household.
Yeah. Responsible as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to have to cook whether you want to eat it or not.
Exactly.
So, well, Emmanuel, how long have you been a part of the food industry?
Long time ago. In fact, it started back in France. I think food was always ubiquitous so not the industry, but a passion for food started with my mother, cooking with her in the kitchen. So she cooked a lot. And I learned when I was 6 or 7 years old to make like the French quiche, the quiche Lorraine from scratch, including the crust. And so I have still that, that memory. And when I organize, barbecues, at home, usually people know that I'm going to make the quiche Lorraine and then several versions around them with smoked salmon, fresh salmons, leek and goat cheese.
Oh my God, like a little quiche with like little creme fraiche and dill and some smoked salmon. Yes. Oh, I want it right now.
So in fact, food was always a passion. I had an uncle, the brother of my mother's brother, and he had a restaurant and hotel. So when I was a kid as well, during summer vacation, I was spending time with him. So I did organic chemistry when I graduated and after an MBA with marketing. So I tried to find something in the day-to-day that I could really embrace the passion as well. So I discovered the world of the flavor industry because I was based in the south of France, so in Grasse, which is not too far from Nice, and it's kind of a hub for all the fragrance and the flavor industry. And I did my internship and MBA there, fell in love with the industry, and since then, long time ago, I'm still in this industry. So I'm in charge of marketing for a company that does that. That's my day job, and so it is the other side. It's not the hospitality industry, but it's it is the food and the beverage industry. But we
Yeah.
very much connected with the world of chefs and pastry chefs and mixologists, because they are a platform for inspiration. So there's a lot of, all the trends. It's really interesting to go in different cities around the country to try to understand what's bubbling up, like behind the kitchen door, behind the bar. So that's the day to day. And in fact, I'm going to Nashville tomorrow for a chef's event, with customers. So again, bring them with us to get inspired.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. It's really amazing. I think, for chefs, and especially chefs who've been exposed to a lot of ingredients, like keeping that fire burning is so important, because there's not a lot of, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I will say on a day-to-day basis, like in what I do, which I work for a company that has kind of a classic take on an American menu. I don't get inspired by ingredients often anymore. Right. I have my day-to-day, my day job, as you would call it. Right. But I think, colloquially, in my mind, I include all the food and beverage industry as a part of hospitality. And even it's the travel writers, it's the food authors, right? Like it's the cookbook writers, like, because the idea of hospitality has been around for so long. And it's when you're sharing food with somebody, that's what you're doing. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But well, I can't wait. I have so many things I want to pick your brain about, but the first and certainly not the least is, you mentioned Provence. Have you ever heard of an author named Peter Mayle?
Of course.
Oh my God.
Yes, of course. This is a fantastic book. Usually I buy it, from my American friend and so on, and say, you want to experience what is the life, in France, not in Paris, because, yes, Paris, and then you have everything else. And Provence is, try to understand a different rhythm of life, and so taking the time, a different pace. Read that book.
It was just amazing. I think I found it in maybe when I was in culinary school, when I was like 19, and that was 21 years ago. And I found this book, and it was just in the beginning, kind of like this. I was starting to use Amazon to buy things in the mail, right? And it was just in the beginning of that. And so I think I ended up buying it in French, because it was the only way I could get it fast enough, right? And they were sold out, and I couldn't find a paperback. And I mean, it just blew my mind. It really, really blew my mind. Before I knew anything about anything in the food business, I was like, this is insane. And he's such a good writer. Like, his writing's so relatable. And so when you said that, I was like, I have to see if he knows, because who doesn't know To Georges Provence? Like, it's so good. It's so good. So
somewhere in my shelf, somewhere.
I'm staring at my entire my stack of Peter Mayle right now. So if any of the listeners don't know what we're talking about, Peter Mayle was an expat who had journeyed to France, and he wrote about this slower life and savoring all the flavors and everything else. The byline of one of his books is his adventures with knife, fork, and corkscrew, and it's just really, really, really good. So. Anyway, I had to get that out of the way. I was like, oh my God, there's no way he doesn't know. All right. So
my brother lives not too far away from where the action of Peter Mayle's book is taking place. So
I'm so jealous. All right.
Not now. I can tell you, not now. It's 110, and there's no, almost no air conditioning in any of the houses over there. So
the global, don't be jealous. The global warming. I think I'm just jealous of the food.
I understood that.
Well, how does one become a flavor explorer?
Oh, I think, it's really about passion, and it's about keeping always, the level of curiosity high. So that's always what I said to, people that that ask me, that question, and people that I know me, understand very quickly that I'm someone very passionate, about a lot of things, but food, and for me, this is, I love interacting with people, traveling, discovering new culture, and so on. And it's always my entry point is always through food. I had the chance to my last really trip in an area that I haven't been at all was Istanbul. I went to Istanbul maybe 4 weeks ago. I had an opportunity of some family member from France that was doing a semester, abroad there. And I said, okay, it's not on my top of my list, but it was on my list. So now it became the top of the list. And I went there, and I mean, the food over there. So, getting into understanding the culture, which is very rich, a lot of arts, a lot of architecture. But the food is amazing, from the street food to more casual, or now chefs are making like really elevated, Turkish food.
Right.
And same concept that you see here in the US, which is in fact, local ingredients, but, elevated with different techniques and so on. But that was really, really amazing. So for me, that passion for food and flavors is, it's my day to day. It's constant.
I mean, it sounds like a paradise. Obviously, that's an outsider's point of view. Like, I know there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and really hard work that goes into that, right? Like
there's hard work, but at the same time, I think that's what I said to my children, 3 kids, and I said to them, it's, if you have the possibility to make your day-to-day job that really includes, your passion, what you're passionate about, then you don't think that you are, you're going to work, or it's not a burden. It's that's the passion. So I wake up every day, and I go into it. It's like really, I don't need to any convincing, or because it's I have that drive, for discovery. So
it's really the life. you can't ask for anything more than that, and being able to do something that you love, so that it doesn't feel like so much work.
Yeah, true.
And on the flip side, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying that it's funny as well, because I have like my kids are saying that, hey, our friends, follow you on Instagram, and they are so jealous, and they want your job. And I'm like, they see only one aspect of it.
Those are a heavily curated experience that you put out for social media, but there's all the work behind it, with the years of expertise and the paying your dues and everything else, right?
Yeah, it's like, the same way people said, oh my God, you're so lucky you travel. Yeah, of course, yes. And sure. I understand I have privilege, for that, but it's long hours, it's, and it's, I came back from, Toronto last night, and flight was delayed because there was, so I arrived at home, it was past midnight, and this morning I still have to work. So I mean, it's, and it's like this all the time.
The airports are a mess right now.
Yeah.
But for something like what you do you find it hard to stay in the moment while you're traveling if you are working? You know what I mean? Like, do you really get to enjoy every aspect of it, or are you always approaching it from like a work perspective?
Yeah.
Can you separate?
For me, it's not, I'm not saying it's work. It's
sure.
It's part of the whole, I make like the whole journey, or, if it's business travel, I always try to include, elements that are connected to the passion. So it's like, okay, I have to, I had coffee in the morning. So, let's look where I am. So, there's like a few like, coffee roasters that I don't know. So let's have my coffee there. And then let's try to understand, the type of drinks they have there that maybe I haven't seen before. And at the end of the day, we have to go to, to maybe have a drink, or it doesn't have to be alcoholic, and then, a restaurant. So I have always like my colleagues that says, we are going to ask, Emmanuel, or, someone from my team as well, who is, passionate, and say, let's ask them, and because they will know where to go. So that's how, in fact, we went to the Laotian, like a restaurant in Toronto yesterday. So, it's all like this. So I'm always trying to bring those two things together. So
I love it. Let's talk about the podcast. How did that start?
2018, that's where I launched it. When I launched it, I do it every other week because, it's on top of the job. So I do it at night or over the weekend.
I understand. One episode a week is a lot on top of a full-time job.
Yeah, because I edit the podcast and and promote it and so on. So every week I decided to do that from scratch, and so the idea was, again, I have the chance to connect with chefs and pastry chef and mixologists. When I talk to a lot of people around me, so people that are passionate about food but that are not maybe chef themselves, they love to to eat and have a good time at restaurants, but there's not a lot of people that are curious about, so what's happening, what happened for the chefs to put together the menu the way it was done. So how she or he had this idea to combine those flavors together. So
the story.
So that's why I call it Flavors Unknown. And the unknown comes from the part unknowns as an homage on Anthony Bourdain, because I launched the podcast, a few months after, he passed away. So so that was the idea of the title. And so I have now 15 episodes, something like this.
Amazing. And, congratulations.
Thank you.
I can't wait to listen. I'll add it into my regular listening for the week, and I'll get caught up on them.
Yeah, in fact, one of the next episodes is going to be with one of the top chefs from Turkey, from Istanbul.
Amazing.
In fact, I went to one of those amazing restaurants with one of the top chefs from Istanbul, and I connected with him when I was there, and I said, "Hey, I have a podcast," and he speaks English fluently, so I'm like, I would love to have you on the show. So, and here you go.
It's magic.
How food, connect people.
100%. It's just a common ground. Like, I've often reminisced about this podcast. I started as kind of what I maybe thought was a hobby, but I've made so many connections in the business and been able to meet and tell so many people's stories and so many incredible people. I've made so many connections, and I love connecting my guests too. If somebody provides a service that somebody else needs or whatever it is, right. And I'm like, really, I mean, my God, you just couldn't be more blessed than that, right? Like, it's just an entire community that gets created. It's neat.
And it can go to far. If you have 5 minutes that I tell you a story, it's something that happened to me. I went to Panama not too long ago on vacation.
Yeah.
I think it was in February or March. And then I went to Panama several times. And this time I went to Boquete, which is closer to Costa Rica. I wanted to go there because that's the hub for coffee plantations and where the volcano is. Anyhow, I took an Airbnb because I wanted to write, writing my third book. So, I take the time when I travel. And then, the host was like a couple of Americans that decided to retire over there. And then the next morning, I received from a number that I don't know at all, from WhatsApp. Hey, I am like a best friend of your host. In fact, she mentioned to me several months back when you book it that she had like a French-American, writer that has a podcast and so on. And I said to her, "Is it Emmanuel Roche?" And I'm like, what am I reading here? I'm in the middle of nowhere in Boquete, in Panama. Right. And then she explained to me that because I had a few years back one of the chefs from Panama, in fact, on the podcast. So since then, she's listening to the podcast. So that's it's amazing. A very funny moment, and that's even in the middle of nowhere, then you could have that connection that comes from the podcast. And she said, "Hey, by the way, do you know the best chefs of Panama?" I said, "Yes, he's in Boquete, but everything was booked in advance. I could not really connect with him." She said, "It's my neighbor. I know him very well. You want me to connect you guys?" And I'm like, "Oh yes." And then so she called me after and she said, "Tomorrow you have an appointment at 10." And then I spent part of the day with that chef, and that was amazing. So see, that's podcast could really connect people.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing. I was just thinking about, what does the average American know about Turkish food? It's like doner kebab, baklava, Turkish delight, right? Maybe if they know,
Yeah. I think you have the top three probably correct. Yes, absolutely. Sure. Yeah.
It's so much deeper than that. It's so much more intricate and involved in the flavors.
Yeah, absolutely.
The flavor
And there's
palette
ingredients
is just
from,
different.
so long ago. And then there is like influences from other countries nearby. You have Syria, in the south. And so you have so many regions and with specific ingredients. And it's really, really amazing. And
I love
and
it.
kebab, yes, you are correct. But the kebab that I've tasted over there are really different. My best experience is the breakfast. So it's like we will call it the brunch here. I mean, it's the meze, and it's, I don't know, like maybe 18 different dishes that are brought to you on the table. From fresh fruit to beignet, and and a lot of other things in between. And it takes 4 hours, but it's
sounds like an event.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds magical. Talk to me about Madagascar.
Yes. So Madagascar. I've been in contact with Madagascar for a long time because of my French background. So obviously, unfortunately in our history, Madagascar was a French colony. They became independent from France in 1960. So I knew about Madagascar when I was a kid. I had, in fact, Malagasy friend. I didn't really pay attention when I was a kid. They were my friend. And
sure.
But then, I in like maybe history and then geography books, in school, I saw already the world of Madagascar with the baobab tree, so the tree of life, those gigantic, tree, the lemurs, and things like that. So it was part of, somehow the context, in my life.
Right.
And then when I started working for, an ingredient company, and especially, natural flavors, natural extract, when you think ice cream, when you think bakery, obviously, one of the key ingredients and taste is vanilla.
Yeah.
So again, Madagascar came back in my life because, if people don't know, 80% of the world production of vanilla beans comes from that island, which is an island on the southeast coast of Africa. So never had the chance to go there, but I at the time, so I talked a lot about the vanilla, on my day-to-day with customers and so on. And then 2018-19, I had the chance to organize a contest here in the US. And we gave some vanilla extract coming from Madagascar to chefs and pastry chef mixologists to create like interesting recipes. And so I think about maybe 100 chefs, participated. And the award was for me to take the 3 winners to Madagascar. So we did it in 2022 because, COVID happened in between. And I took Chef Elizabeth Faulkner. You probably heard the name. I took Michael Gulotta, Chef Michael Gulotta from New Orleans. And then Shannon Tibet as the chef from mixologist that at that time was the beverage director from Death and Company in New York.
Right.
To the island, closer to the source of vanilla. So the trip was really about vanilla. And when I went there, I discovered so many more interesting ingredients from that island that on the way back, I said, oh, you know what? Maybe I have an idea for a second book. So, I discovered like peppercorn, pink peppercorn. I discovered endemic black pepper, obviously cocoa, even caviar. There's 11 tons of caviar produced in Madagascar. Different type of honey because of the biodiversity with different, blossoms.
Listen, until I received your press kit and your information, I had zero clue that caviar came from Madagascar.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I had zero clue before I traveled there. So
I mean, because obviously France, there's quite a bit, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's in fact what happened for the caviar. I had the chance to organize like a big event in the capital, the Antananarivo, with the 3 American chefs and one of the top chefs from Madagascar, Chef Lalaina, and say, hey, that would be cool if they could cook together. And so we organized a big party. 120 something people came from the capital. And then they were serving. The chef said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to serve caviar." I'm like, "Oh great, that's interesting." So where is the caviar from? He said, "What do you mean? It's from the island." Caviar in Madagascar, and so I had the chance to meet the owner of the sturgeon farm, and they invited me to come to the lake and the farm, on my second trip when I came back in 2023. So. Anyhow, story short, I discovered those ingredients. I decided to say, you know what, I need to share that story with others, not only to keep it to myself. So that's why I wrote the book, A Taste
I love it.
Madagascar.
Stories are made to be told, and if they're not told, they get lost.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, whether it's print media, digital media, whatever it is, but like kind of the art of culturally, right, like of telling each other stories and passing down stories being lost. It's being lost.
Yeah, and you hope that people will read it because not a lot of people read books, but okay.
Yeah, but maybe there'll be a resurgence.
So, but the story was for me not only to talk about the ingredients, but to share the human dimension, behind each of these ingredients. So the people, when they were reading the book, they will discover those ingredients. They will discover as well each different part of the island, because very diverse as well, very different landscapes. And then celebrating as well, like the farmers, the beekeepers, the entrepreneurs behind those ingredients that are giving back to the local communities. That's what, it was meaningful for me to write the book that way.
Yeah. I don't think there's a chef out there that's not familiar with like a Nielsen Massey,
Sure.
bourbon vanilla paste. But if you'd asked me where it came from, I'd have been like, I don't know. I have no idea. Right. Like, I mean, it's been written on the bottle, but like even the fact that they call it bourbon vanilla paste is like a reference to the locale. But
I mean, people have no idea either. People have no idea that part of the world is called the Bourbon region because of the former king of France, the Bourbon or Bourbon, sorry, with the French. But the Bourbon family, which was in fact the family of the king and the queens of France. So and of course they went there and they said, "Oh, mine." So that's my region. I call it, my family name.
Like you do when you're colonizing, you just
exactly.
stick a flag in and you go, "I found this one. It's ours."
That's mine.
It's mine. Talk to me about the flavor profile of Madagascar caviar. How is it different from something else more mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, not that I eat caviar every day, at home, but that was for me amazing. It's because of two things: not only the taste, but it's first the size of the eggs that are a little tiny bigger, because they have the possibility to skip some cycle. Why? Because we are in the South Hemisphere. We are close to, we are in the tropics.
Right.
So people are thinking, but I don't understand, because sturgeons are, from the North Hemisphere. Right. And this is usually Russia, Iran, now France and so on. But, they're very cold in the winter. It doesn't happen there.
Yeah.
You need to think as well that there's a haut plateau in Madagascar. So there's areas that are a bit colder, which means that the water temperature is the same throughout the year. So there's not like warmish, temperature and then very, very cold or frozen, temperature. It's like 15 degrees Celsius, the whole time.
It's temperate.
Exactly. Yeah. So the idea is that you don't have those different, like the growth of the fish, the sturgeons.
Sure.
Will grow and then they will plateau and then they will grow and they will plateau and so on. This is really regular. So they have the possibility then to, as well, instead of having like one cycle, they can have multiple cycles, but then they can skip one. So then the eggs become a little bit bigger. Sorry, a long story, but.
No, I love it. Please. I want to hear every detail.
But then the profile was interesting. And there's even a fun story about this, funny story. So I had the chance to to follow the whole process. So they sacrifice a sturgeon for me when, to show me the process from A to Z. So taking the eggs, from the pouch from the fish, and then with, the cleaning, and the curing aspect with the salt, and so on in the packaging. So I had the chance to taste like the caviar fresh, like with just when the salt was added, but as well, I had the chance to taste like several months, older, so 3 months, and then a bit older. So I was comparing those profiles, and that was really interesting. Is that there's a very, very creamy profile, and very there's a little bit of hazelnut as well, profile to the to that caviar. So the funny story is that there's no hazelnut in Madagascar. It doesn't grow there.
Yes,
so
correct.
When you are in the lab, because it's a normal production lab and so on,
right.
And you have a sensory team, which I know quite well because I have that in my team as well here in the US. And then so they have descriptors. It's how are you going to describe like the profile of the caviar, and then hazelnut is one of the descriptors. But then those people that are working there, they are from Malagasy. So Madagascar, they are Malagasy people. So you are like, yeah, but what is hazelnut? So they had to they found the idea that in one of the gas station, there's, little bit of food, and there's like cookies, and there's like hazelnut cookies that are coming from Europe.
Right.
And then so that became their descriptors. So the descriptor of the hazelnut instead of being like true, hazelnuts like from the nut. Yeah. So it became, they discovered the taste of hazelnut and say, oh yeah, this is that profile from one of the, hazelnut cookies.
How bizarre that like their perspective was changed and they were exposed to something that wasn't native. It's like, it would be like me tasting Nutella and deciding to describe a wine, right? It's just like crazy. That's
Absolutely.
Crazy. Yeah. Wow.
I thought it was a funny story, but yeah. So that caviar was, really amazing. And in fact, I know that a big part of the production comes to the US. It comes to like maybe like a brand not connected to Madagascar.
Sure.
But there's a
like
lot
a
of
distributor
of that. Yes, they being commercialized in the US.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. It is mesmerizing. That's really fascinating.
It was. I mean, it's. I mean, I can talk to you a long time about those.
I love it. And I'm going to pick up the books too. Like, I can't wait.
The sturgeon, but I saw the cycle, from the how you call it, the eggs being fertilized. So fertilized eggs until they become like small little fish, and 2 years old, because they develop the gender when they are 2 years old, not before that, and then they start to park them into different places, and then they put them in big nets, on the lake after that, because they need to be at least 6 years old to produce caviar, not before that. So it's a lot of investment, when you think about it, because it takes 6 years before you can have your first production.
It's a whole process. It's like trying to grow an avocado, like years.
But there's the avocado. You're right. You can screw it up because the plant can dry, whatever. But fertilized eggs, and so on. Of course, it's very, very minutious, and you can lose a lot of those fish. So
right. All right. So you took what, 4 trips?
3 trips, 22, 23, 25. Yeah.
What was the most bizarre food experience you had there? Like, what was the most unexpected for you? Having had traveled, what was the most surprising?
What was the most surprising? I have to think about it.
Yeah, it's okay. We can come back to it if you want.
No, but it's a good question. It should. I think the most surprising, because my mind was trying to find like a specific dish or whatever.
Sure.
I think for me, it's more the influences. Is the fact that because of the location,
Yeah.
which is 250 miles from the coast of Africa, in my mind, it was very, very much influenced by Africa. So I was thinking I will get pearls, I will get
Sure.
a specific leafy green from Africa. The sauces will be as well close to what we see from Africa. And my
like
first
chilies and stews and maybe peanuts and things
exactly,
like that.
peanuts and so on.
Yeah.
So you have a bit of that, but even when you land in Madagascar and then you have to drive from the airport to the capital, the first thing that you see are like from like where do you drive to the horizon, you see like rice fields, and I'm like, that's really looks much more like Indonesia and I was not expecting this, which is stupid on my end because we know rice is very important for Malagasy people, but so I started to have this feeling that I'm like, oh, I am close to Africa, but the landscape reminds me much more of what I've seen from Thailand or Indonesia, and then you start seeing as well the face of local people, and then you see this very diverse. Again, you see like that spectrum of very African influence to like very much like Asian influence. And then when you start talking then about your with your guests or your hosts, sorry, they will say, you know what, like the first settlers came from Indonesia. So you have that diversity, and then in the food, that's translated in the food because you see that influence from Asia, you see the influence from Africa, but then the Portuguese, came to the island as well. So you have a lot of different spice and a lot of like the fried dough, in the dessert that comes from Portuguese influence. Of course, you have the French influence because there's been many years of the colonial time. So that was for me more that surprise of that very diverse element that came from different influences through centuries, and more than I think maybe from a dish standpoint, it's more like a beverage, something that was really interesting that all families will welcome you with wherever you are on the island. So they cook rice and they prepare rice for the 3 meals, so breakfast included.
Wow.
And then so when they cook the rice in a pot, and then there's always a little bit of rice that are attached on the bottom of the pot. So instead of like
the
really
fond
cleaning, they pour water into it and they keep it on the fire, and that water turns a little bit brownish, and then takes as well that caramelic and a little bit burnt, character. And after that, they pour that water, into a recipient, and they drink that water throughout the day. And they will offer that to you when you come. So
That's
that
insane.
was probably the most like intriguing things that was served to me, everywhere on the island.
That's insane. So this is just a local custom.
Yeah.
Do you know what do they add to that water?
They had nothing. It's just like
the flavor.
Yeah, just the flavor comes from it will be like a little bit starchy because of the rice, and then you will have the caramelized notes, and then you will have the the smoky character, and then the things they do as well, because there's still some rice on that bottom of the pot, so they will add milk and then sugar. Then they will stir that for a while and detach like every pieces from the pot, and that will be dessert for the kids. So
I was going to say, there's no way that's not for a baby. Like they're trying to make it palatable for a child. It makes me think of Cajun cooking, but there's always a glass of water by the stove because you want to deglaze the fond, or they call it the grease from the bottom of the pot. That's wild. So kind of like this horchata like experience, but
Correct.
completely detached from.
That's a very good comparison. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but that influence isn't there, right? That's wholly theirs because there's all that isolation from outside.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's amazing. Did you enjoy it, or was it weird?
Yeah, I mean, I think I enjoy more. Like it's an acquired taste. So
Sure.
throughout I cannot say that maybe my first glass was like, oh my God,
grew
it's
to love
amazing.
it.
I do that at home. But it's first of all, for me, it's the gesture where, in fact, a lot of those people have not a lot of income. They live just above the level of poverty.
Yep.
The rice is really the things that they can feed their family with,
right?
But still, they will invite you and share their meal with you and share that drink with you. So I think that this symbol is what made maybe that moment as well special. And then I had the story too that because it's an iconic drink, I had the chance, to the same way that I connected the chef with, a local chef. We had mixologists that create craft cocktails in the capital, and that organized like the first ever national like cocktail competition when we arrived, and he asked us to be the jury. So that was fun. And now we decided to continue. So since 2022, since our first trip, now there's a yearly competition of craft cocktail. But so at the end of my first trip, I said, Kimek, because that's his stage name. I said, Kimek, I give you a challenge because I know I'm going to come back. And I said, I want you to create a cocktail that is inspired by this drink. So make like an elevated version of this. And he said, oh my gosh, it's a great idea. And then on my second trip, obviously, I went to see him. And then he said, Emmanuel, I have a surprise for you. And, I kind of knew what it was, I was hoping that it was that. And then he started to make a cocktail in front of me. And it was inspired more by like the dessert from the kids, so by adding a little bit of cream and milk and, in the drink. But it was a fantastic cocktail that he created, inspired by, by that drink.
I love that. You started a competition, and now there's a tradition.
I mean, it was that's for me as well the great element and fascination that I have with this island is like how generous and how nice people are. So when we organized that conference called pre-trip, the first trip, so because I wanted to make sure we break the ice, and so the American chef were already acquainted with, the people from Madagascar. So that's where we met him. And then he was so excited. He said, this is the first time I'm going to have like American guests, and we need to do something special. And then when I mentioned that Shannon Tibet was, the head of the beverage, from Death and Company, he said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to organize the first ever cocktail competition in Madagascar, and you guys will be like the jury. That will be my honor. And we had like an
so cool
in the newspaper of of the capital. So
it's incredible. I man, that's just like, that's amazing. I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to grab a copy. Dare I say the culturally, generosity just operates different. The idea of taking care of yourself first is not sinful by nature, right? Like it's not like necessarily morally wrong, but it is definitely an American ideal. And when you travel to somewhere that doesn't have much, they're used to sharing. They're used to sharing, and they have to take care of each other because that's the only choice they have. You know what I mean? And there's
but I completely agree with you, and I definitely experienced that.
Sure.
But I want to make the parallel of something that I've seen, and I was so excited to see it here in the US, is with the chefs community in certain cities that are not the gigantic city where there's a lot of competition. We understand, like the New York scene, the San Francisco scene, and so on. But I'm thinking community like Nashville, like Austin, like Portland, those Portland in Oregon. and I'm forgotten some others, so sorry for everyone else. But the idea is that, especially, that was amplified during the pandemic, where in fact you have seen that mindset of supporting each other, and the fact that we are going to survive together, and we are going to help each other survive. So that is exactly the same. I made just that bridge, and listening to what you were saying before, it's because yes, I experienced it in Madagascar, because the nature is very difficult over there. The conditions are tough, and there are droughts, there is like cyclones, the equivalent of the hurricanes, in the Indian Ocean, and then so they have to help each other. And I have seen this, in some chefs communities in the US. So see, there's still hope in humanity.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not like a one size fits all dig at America, but
no,
it's just, but you're right. Like there are some really, heartwarming, vibrant, helpful communities out there where, really the priorities have changed, and these communities are doing that real messy work of loving each other, supporting, taking care of
that was
everything
not
else, right?
at all implying that it was here in the
US.
No, because I see the same thing in France or other countries in Europe, and so on. So
I didn't want it to come across the wrong way, but only to say that I've had that same experience in other communities different from the one I grew up in, where people with way less than me would give it 10 times.
Exactly.
It never stops being like, really, is that, just kind of the most joyous human experience, right? Like, it's amazing. Okay. So what's next for you? Are you writing anything new?
Yeah, but it's completely different.
Is it spoilers?
I am. Oh yeah, but it will take some, some time. So for the two first book, it took me like 22 months to write the manuscript of each book. This one, I'm not sure, because I decided, and in let's say as well conversation with my writing coach and agent, and is the fact that I said, hey, I would love to write a novel. So so the idea is, I said, I'm not sure, can I move from like nonfiction to fiction? And they said, yeah, but so the advice for me was to say in the genre not the genre, so the space that I know very well, which is food. So I said, yeah, in fact, the idea is for me, it's to write a murder mystery in the hospitality industry. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. So it's the action takes place between, I would say in the present, or not present, like 2010, 2015. Sure. I wanted to do it pre-AI, like in Panama, and then with kind of like flashback and anchor in France, because that world of people that are in the present, in fact, went to the same culinary school, Cordon Bleu, in Paris, and so they connected when they were younger. But then now one became a journalist, a food journalist, critic, and the others, became chefs. So so the action is it's a soft opening of a restaurant of a Panamanian chef, and the American French journalist is traveling for that, and somehow at the end of the soft opening, the chef disappear. So
is this your first fiction?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying. We'll see.
It's a caper. It's a mystery. I love it. That's so exciting. It's so exciting. I can't wait. And so your first two books, and so for the listeners out there, I just want you to be aware, the first two books, Conversations Behind the Kitchen Door and A Taste of Madagascar, and the podcast Flavors Unknown. And don't worry, I'll link to everything on my podcast website. Absolutely. I love it. I like helping people make the connections. I love helping people find a cookbook, an author, a restaurant that, that they've never seen. But like, I, for one, cannot wait to read more about Madagascar. Quite frankly, on a chef's radar, if you grow up, pick a major city. I grew up in Dallas. We have our Dallas culinary, giants, right? I went to a Le Cordon Bleu school here stateside. You learn about the greats, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of countries that I would never even be like, oh, I really had no idea. I really had no idea of the culinary impact of this specific place. And Madagascar is definitely one of them.
Sure.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to learn more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the idea as well is for people to start thinking a bit more about, and it started with me as well with this trip, is like the human dimension behind like the ingredients, because we, especially where we live, we are have the chance to have access to anything we want any moment of the year, and we take things for granted, and so we grab things on the shelves and that's it. And for me, the idea with writing this book was to say, just spend a little bit more time, to understand the human behind those ingredients. Because if you just take the vanilla beans, which I use in my, kitchen, I had beans, before in my kitchen, and I'm sure we all have done that. If you don't really pay attention, then they become dry, and then you have those two beans. Okay, I throw them away. I buy some new ones.
It's somebody's livelihood. Somebody's
exactly.
livelihood.
And when I've seen, from what it takes, the craft behind it. I knew the chemistry because of what I do and my day job, but now discovering the craft and seeing that and hearing that, in fact, that bean from the pollination, because, by the way, it's hand pollinated. Every flower is hand pollinated in order to produce a vanilla bean. And until that bean arrive in your kitchen, there's probably about 40 hands that have touched that beans, on the island, because of the pollination, and then the harvest, and then the curation, and then the curing, and then the the drying process, and then the sorting, and all of this, and this is like some know-how that transferred from one generation to generation, on the island. And if we want to continue to enjoy, vanilla, and cook with vanilla, and transmit vanilla to our own children, and smelling vanilla, when you are in the kitchen, from the oven, I think we need to make sure that we support, those families, in Madagascar, because this is, as you said, their livelihood. They collect and harvest the vanilla beans, at one moment in the year, and they get, in one day, they get their yearly income, one day, and they have to learn how to manage that income, that it lasts the entire year. So it is, it's not an easy situation for them.
I think that's a really important conversation too, to be had in this space, or even with just if people that would only consider themselves like consumers or home cooks, anybody who really enjoys food, right? Like, this conversation is so important to understand. There have been foods that have become fads, and we've priced people out of their own food. Quinoa is a great example. The people who grow it could never afford to buy it now, because we priced that, demand saturated that market and drove the price up. I remember I went on a trip some years ago with a church to Brazil, and I remember seeing a cashew for the first time.
With the fruit and the
stinky fruit attached to it, and it's poisonous when it's still in the shell. But just, I'm not sure that I was smart enough, wise enough, old enough to make the connection then. But when I think back on it now, I go, it took somebody, they bare hand climbed a very dangerous tree over water that has stuff that would eat you in it, to get one nut, right? And I can't imagine having to just, having to scrape by in that way. That kind of sounds demeaning, but you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine having to have that livelihood to keep generations moving forward, right? Because at one point before the Industrial Revolution, we were all farmers. We were all experiencing animal husbandry. We were all farmers. You grew up understanding how to tend the land, how to survive off of it. I couldn't do it now. I would have not a clue the first place.
I want to make sure that people that are listening understand, because they're going to say, yeah, but you guys are talking like special ingredients, and we don't do that every day. And, yes, of course. But I think that we can do that in our everyday life. So, instead of, and I know convenience, we have
Right.
Busy life, active life, and but at least maybe during the weekend, especially this is the right season from spring, to the fall. Go to the farmers market. There's farmers markets everywhere now where farmers, bring their food, and they love talking about, ask them questions, and talk about like the ingredients, and if they recommend like anything, or how to prepare things, if you maybe don't know a certain ingredients.
Yeah.
So make that connection. And for me, it's discovering the human face behind the ingredients. Start for me in New Jersey, going to my farmer's market, on the weekend. And then eat the things in season, because they are at the peak of their maturity, and then the flavor profile as well. Don't eat strawberry like in January.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you can if you want. I'm not saying.
I worked for a few places that will serve seasonal fruit, but it tends to be, because of the palate and the pricing and whatever, tends to be like the same 4 fruits all year. And then people go like, "This melon's not ripe." I'm like, "Yeah, it's February. It's February.
Strawberries are no taste." Yeah, sure.
No. Yeah. Well, somebody had to gas it and make it ripen artificially, and shipped it across the country.
What I love as well, talking to chefs, and I talk to them a lot about like the rotations of the menu and the seasonal ingredients, and said, "Oh my gosh, spring is coming. We are going to have like the first like strawberries that are that are going to arrive, and or the cherry and so on, and they are really excited." They said, "Oh my gosh, we've been through all the fall. I couldn't stand having those root vegetables. I need to.
I can't eat it. I can't eat another apple. I don't want any more cabbage. Like I don't.
I need to have like my first rhubarb." So and I think it's really nice to hear that kind of story. At least for me, it's
I love it, and I think it's important for people to reflect on just the access that we have, and the kind of I wouldn't call it freedom, but I think access is probably the best way to describe it. It's just if you lived in a certain place, you ate what grew there, and you weren't getting to eat stuff from states and states away until the technological boom, the industrial revolution, all the factories and things like that. It's like, did you ever stop to think that maybe you only ate one type of apple because that's what grew within 100 yards of your, what I mean? Like, it's just,
And it's again, back to be, curious. I'll give you another example. There's a chef that lives not too far from where I live here in New Jersey. And people think about New Jersey, they think about what they know from the Hudson River, the Chemical Valley. They don't understand that maybe 15-minute drive west of Newark Airport, this is farmland. So it's called the Garden State for a reason. It's people smile when they see Garden State, on the license plate, but there's a lot of farms. There's a lot of horse farm. There's like lamb farm. There's like really, so there's a chef here that created a restaurant that, in fact, he only cooks with ingredients that are from 8 miles around his restaurant. So when I talk to my colleagues, even here in New Jersey, and I talk about this, he said, "How can he do that? We are in New Jersey. It never happened." I'm like, travel, go there, be curious, and so people went there and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I didn't think that we could have that here in New Jersey." I'm like, here you go. So be curious.
Wonders never cease. Never stop being curious, for sure. Emmanuel, I've had a blast talking to you this evening. I'm so honored to have you on this podcast, and I would love for you to just take a moment and tell people where you can be found, maybe on social media.
Sure.
So
thank you. First, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I have so the website first for the podcast, it's flavorsunknown.com. There's a page as well for the book, but I've created as well a web page called atasteofmadagascar.com. So that's easy. And then you can find the book anywhere, you buy books online, obviously. And I want to say, maybe if I may,
of course,
please as well support your local bookstore, because I think it's important. The same way you support farmers, support local bookstores. There's a lot of bookstores around the country. And then otherwise on the social media, it's So if it's LinkedIn, it's on my name, Emmanuel Roche. And otherwise, for Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, and so on, it's Flavors Unknown.
Perfect. Yeah, I caught the nod to Bourdain right off the bat, and I was like, how special. I love it. So
I can't believe this is already an hour. It went so fast.
I could talk to you for another hour, but I'm starving and I need to go cook dinner. So.
You need to empty your fridge. I understand.
I need to empty my fridge. Emmanuel, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Stick around for just a moment after I stop recording and we'll chat. But
sure.
For Emmanuel, thank you so much. For Emmanuel, I'm Melissa, and this was the Food for Thoughtcast. Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap for today. Until the next episode of the Food for Thoughtcast, make good food, eat good food, share it, and be kind to one another.
Thanks so much for listening today. You are part of what makes us special, and we are so glad you joined us. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. Just like food, delicious podcasts are better when you share them with others. Come back for seconds wherever podcasts are served, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Food for Thoughtcast.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at the Food for Thoughtcast or at www.foodforthoughtcast.com, where you can link to all podcast players, or you can send us an email at foodforthoughtcmc@gmail.com.
Ready to love your floors again? At S&G Carpet & More, finding the perfect floor is easy. Choose from waterproof LVP, carpet, hardwood, and laminate, plus expert guidance, furniture moving, and professional installation start to finish. And with our no-surprise guarantee, the price we quote is the price you pay. Visit sgcarpet.com or call 866-632-2773 to schedule your free in-home appointment.
S&G, more than carpet, where quality is affordable.